As a disclaimer, some of our episodes discuss topics that may not be fit for a younger audience. Some episodes also contain some swearing. This show was produced by the Geek Happy Network, constantly curious about the things we love. If you enjoy listening to Represented, remember to subscribe to the show on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Remember to leave a review. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
Hi, I'm Jamie Mack. Welcome to the Represented Podcast.
My name is Mick Narciso, and you are listening to the Represented Podcast.
What's up? My name is Robert Mudhama, aka Lucid.
Hi everyone, my name is Noni Rupia, and you're listening to Represented Podcast.
A journey through the lives of everyday people
such as yourself.
Check me out on episode 2 of season 1.
Listen to me on episode 9, season 1.
Episode 7 of season 1.
I think I couldn't be more happier and more like myself now. I feel.
It opened my eyes to why I think and feel the way I do.
And they inadvertently teach me how to be more creative.
And I'm excited to share that story.
First time meeting our guest today, Lisa Oduor-Noah. I don't know why she's laughing, but I was introduced to Lisa a few weeks ago by Noni. Shout out to Noni, who's been such an integral part of this podcast so far. So it's always interesting to do a podcast with someone who I've met for the first time, because you just never know how it's gonna go.
All right.
But I think it's been interesting so far, even before we started recording, just like all the conversations we've already had.
Right.
Which I don't think we expected
No.
to have.
It's like an hour and a half.
Yeah. We already had like a whole other podcast. Yeah.
I was telling you how you should have recorded that before.
Yeah. So welcome to the Represented Podcast.
Thank you.
It's really nice to have you here.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So my introduction to you was obviously, like I said, through Noni, and she mentioned like, the basics, like you sing and all that stuff, and to what extent is singing a part of how you describe yourself?
So how much is it a part of who I am? Wow, a lot. Like I think even before you walked in, I was already singing on my own. That should let you know.
Yeah.
But it's something I've always done. Like I told you before, I've had no proper formal learning, so I used to sing. I learned how to sing by sitting on an armchair in front of the TV, like songs like what's this song by Mariah Carey? That one,
yes.
So I'd sing along the whole time, and then my siblings would always I have like 6. So in the kitchen when we're doing chores and stuff, they'd start singing, and I'd be there, so I'd start singing along, and that was like, I guess, the setup, if you'd say. So it's been, and I've heard different stories, like from people I know, about how I have an uncle who used to rock me to sleep to Lingala music.
Okay.
And even now, when it comes on, I feel it so much. Like, there's a part of your heart which is like, you feel like it's how people say my chest. Yeah, that's how I feel about that music. So it feels like, even as much as it's what I do, it's so much a part of my day to day. Like people have, how people say, yeah, I sit on the toilet and I think, or and me, it's the shower, and sometimes I'll just have music outside when I'm just like, and I'll go through thoughts in my head. It's so much, like I can't imagine my life without music. It's almost one of the first other things I learned how to do was whistle, and my dad would whistle songs he knew. So there's some songs I know by extension, just because of them singing along. So for me, it's almost like if you met me I don't think you could think outside of music, but at the same time, it's what I do, but it's not entirely who I am. And I chose to separate the two because I like many things outside of music, but even more so, I think who I am shapes what my music sounds like and what my lyrics are made of. So, yeah, I think it's an integral part of who I am, but I think I'm so much more than just a musician.
Exactly, yeah. And I think, so like I was saying, we had such a crazy conversation before this, and I think that's more so a lot of the things I'm more so interested in with this podcast is like the person themselves. That other stuff is really cool too. But like, and I think you're one person or you're one of those people who seems to really know themselves in a sense. So I don't think you're scared to really talk about like who you are and things like that. But
Not at all.
so like, who are you, Lisa?
I saw that coming. I said, binoculars from far. I said, uh-oh. Who am I? Wow. I mean, there's the basics of, it sounds like it's basic just because it's stuff you do and it's the roles that I have. So, yeah, I'm a sister, I'm a friend.
Where did you grow up?
Oh, that's a good question. In Loresho.
Okay.
And yeah, Gaming, in a place called Kaptagat Grove. I lived there for 18 years. Used to go to Songari. And then I went to Rusinga, like mostly in Kenya. And the only time I left more exclusively was to go to uni in Berklee.
Okay, Berklee. That's where?
Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Okay.
Yeah. Boston,
what is that?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Yeah.
What is that? Because that's another thing I also like to talk to people who've had that experience about is that diaspora experience. So like, why did you choose to leave? How did you come about that decision to go abroad and study?
Wow, it's interesting when you ask it like that because it wasn't planned at all. Like, you know, when someone was like, yeah, we're just going to be here. I'll finish my degree in psychology in Daystar. Yeah, like, and I love psychology. It's not that I don't. It was a phone call. Someone just said, they're auditioning for Berklee. I'd like to put you on the list from America Nina. And he was like, yeah, do you want to come? I was like, I mean, why not? I had other friends who really wanted to go. And I was honestly like, yeah, guys, you can go. Woo! I'm cheering them on. Not that... I didn't have that dream. It wasn't maybe specifically to go to Berklee. I actually wanted to go to Cape Town and the UBC. So I have a line of things I wanted to do.
Yes.
So leaving happened, I wouldn't say by accident, but I'd just say it was very serendipitous. Because I think I took a break that year. Was it 2014? I took a break from Daystar because I got a job on Coke Studio. In the midst of that, before it started, I was called for the audition. And then there's this months of waiting. And then just before I went on a missions trip with Nairobi Chapel, was when I was accepted to go. And now I kept saying, there's no way I'm going to go if God doesn't give me a scholarship. I said, unless you pay my school fees, we're chilling. So I would just wait like that whenever people asked me. And literally, that's exactly what happened. And I go for the missions trip, I come back, and all the wildness of preparing happens, and then in 10 days, I pack my bags and I'm gone, and my whole room is in my 2 suitcases. And it was wild for me because I was like, you know, it felt like a dream in my heart was being revived because I didn't think I'd ever get to go and study music. And I wanted to. That's why I wanted to go to Cape Town. That's why I wanted to go to UBC because I was like, yo, I actually want to understand this language, and so it helps me speak the language better, not just with other musicians, but to the audience. And I didn't expect that I'd be a musician, honestly. It was just because, like, I mean, I can do, people, you know how in your head it's not a profession because of how parents look at it. But in my head, I was like, I know you have something for me here, so you open up the door if I'm going to go. So I think it came, and I just asked my parents, trust with me. If it doesn't work out, can I come home? I love to learn anyway. So when I went, I think it didn't hit me till I got there, and I was like, yo, guys, I'm alone.
Yeah.
And this is me living out what I feel is part of and parcel of what I was put here on earth to do. And it's wild. There's nothing that can prepare you for the first time you see snow. It's great. Not great after the first week. Or taking trains that like are the normal transport system instead of matatus. Noticing the difference between people when it's winter versus when it's summer, and how they're more friendly versus when they're not, and they're not trying to talk to you or see you.
And this was all your decision, so like
and it's like so it's you. You know, so you have to, you bear the burden of adjusting and coping, and then also finding yourself while so much is happening, and then also not losing who you are at the same time. Though I find that when you are taken out, your feet or your roots are more grounded. At least I'd hope they would be. Just because you realize there's certain things that they have that you don't, and that you have and they don't. And I think that's what helps you have a more concrete idea of who you want to become, or who you're becoming in the midst of all that chaos.
Was homesickness ever like a factor?
Like, I told you earlier that I've been a 60-year-old since I was 3 because my parents are old, and I have spent so much time with them. Like, I was taken for everything. Meetings, I had a nickname, I was called the briefcase. Like, the handbag, all sorts of things. So I'm that kid. And then also, I'm a homebody generally. So it was bad. My first semester was bad. Like, I used to go into a bathroom stall and cry almost after every lesson because I was like, I was like, you think I can do this, okay? This is why I'm here. I have no idea what is happening. Because, backstory, I couldn't actually read music. Great ears and catching on to stuff and following players and stuff, but I couldn't actually read music. But my first semester, I was starting with a class where I was being taught how to read music, being taught how to ear train, being taught how, like, I was like, this is so much. That on top of art history classes. And then these guys have the nerve to be like, oh, we're going to put you in an English class. I said, hold on. I did A-level English.
You mean this language I've been speaking my whole life?
Oh, and I think the worst insult when someone's like, oh, your English is so good.
Yeah.
Excuse me, what do you mean it's so good? I've been speaking it my whole life. I can probably write better papers than all of you in this classroom. And seeing guys complain about 3 to 4 pages when over here I'm in this time, and they're like, okay, so 10 pages of still. So I was just like, you guys don't know how easy it is here. Like, but I'm also thankful. It made me so thankful for the teachers I had. Oh, that homesickness, it feels like it comes like this, you know, like you see in like animations, like this gigantic towering thing, you know. Sometimes it starts off like that, and then as time goes, you're like, okay, it's not so bad, and then it'll come in like bouts where it's like you're wrestling, where it's like, oh, someone talks about something and you're like, oh, what we have? Then you're like, oh, okay, I miss home. And then you visit and then you're like, okay, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Because you become used to, let me tell you something, I miss working quick Wi-Fi.
Amen.
Hey. So, but after that, I think I learned how to balance it, but I made sure at least I'd ask my parents if I can come home once every year, because I'd never spent a birthday without them. So the first one, I remember my dad answering the phone and he was like, oh, why do you sound so miserable? And I was like, because you guys are not here. And my mom told me, like, when I got older, that, so apparently I was supposed to be born on his birthday.
Oh.
And our birthdays are, my mom's on the 9th of June, I'm on the 29th of June, and my dad's on the 5th of July.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow. So it's been wild. And it's really weird because my dad is born in like 1939. I'm born in 1993. So I've been born on like a different like action.
Oh, yeah, just flip
right?
around. Yeah,
if I was born on his birthday. So I was just like, bruh, I don't know what this is doing to me. Yeah. But
so like you're super close to your folks. Like, I gather. Like,
yeah. Especially growing up, just because first you're the last born and then you're the last born with an age gap of like years. Yeah. Because like between me and my sister that I follow is 8 years, and then my brother it's 12. And then from there on, we're just going.
Pick a number.
Yeah. So pick a number, any number. Here we go. It's 10 now. Yeah. So.
So how long did you spend in Boston?
Oh, like I finished my degree earlier, so I was done by 2018 August. So basically 3.5 years.
Yeah. And what kind of relationship did you grow into with Boston as a place?
Wow. Wow, that's a good question. I think for me, I realized Boston was like largely a place of transition. And I feel like that's when you go abroad for uni, that's what you find. And then maybe you come back home, yeah? But you feel like you change so much, but also maybe not so much. Maybe you're just becoming more intense in certain areas, you know? So for me, it was like I was completely inside. It felt like I was living life in a musician's head, let's say that, because now it wasn't that okay, occasionally a gig here or something there, you know. No, like everything about my life became about music, like class. And then you come out of class, you have ensemble class, which you have to have rehearsal for. If not, then there's gigs on campus, which are you doing your own research? Like I was tired. Even the damn lunch hall was like a venue.
Yeah.
So it was like wild to me because it taught me a lot about the professionalism of my art, my trade, I guess I'd say. But then also, I think it further ingrained in me the things that I believe in. Just because, hey, like, again, like we said earlier, people think you go abroad and it's just, ooh, smooth living. No, it's not. There'll be times you don't have food. There'll be times you're like, fam, am I even going to make it out of the semester? And even when you realize it's not that you're not cut out for it, you know, there'll be a lot of internal battles you have with yourself, just trying to be like, hey, maybe, what if I don't want to do pop or these things? Am I wrong for doing that?
Because is that a lot? Did you feel some of that kind of pressure from the people you were in school with?
Right. And then also, not even because it was them directly inflicting it, it was just the idea of like, this is a school which births popular musicians, one. And then two, it's like, even if it's not about being popular, it's just like, we don't sound like them, I don't sing like them, I might know their music to some degree, but I haven't lived that life. So to some degree, it's like, yeah, I was prepared for this in some way, shape, and form where we have a lot of the same memories, but I've not lived your life and I've not lived in America. So I can't identify with certain things. And you might feel out of place, but it made me realize, like, no, it just means there's space for me in my unique form and the way I understand things and the way I might hear that music and interpret it, you know? Because it's easy to be caught in a comparison trap versus being like, yo, oh, this is cool. This is just who I am, you know? And I think you always have to go through that, like, that friction of being like, am I really in the right? No, I'm here. I'm supposed to be here, you know? So, yeah, Boston was completely... It became a place of transition, but then as I was leaving, I started to realize, like, there's so many things I like about it. Like, there's a place called the Arboretum, or the Arbor or something. And there's a hill you could sit on top of and see all the way into Boston, and you'd see all the trees going like yellow and red and orange, and I was just like, oh my God, I love it so much. Or near where I lived, like, there's the Charles River, so you could walk down and there were playgrounds by the riverside. And I was looking at my old Instagram stories and I was like, guys, like, this place, to some degree, in as much as it was a place of a lot of, I guess, wrestling and tussling and back and forth to form parts of who I am now, it was definitely a place that I grew to love. Because I think that's the thing with struggle. And as much as sometimes we hate going through it, and sometimes you're like, I appreciate it, you know?
Yeah.
So I liked it a lot. Like, I remember all the places we used to go with some of my friends when we were deep in the struggle. And we used to go to this place called SNS. Shout out to them grandmas and grandpas who worked there, which had been open for like 100 years. And they had these barbecue wings. Let me tell you something. And we'd go there after church and we'd be like, yo, it's like $10, which seems expensive, but for what they gave you, like proper food. And we'd sit there and talk, or even just sometimes, okay, we were really random children. We'd walk in like my first 2 years, it would be late at night in the summer and it's like so warm and everyone is awake. So we'd walk to our playground at like 1 a.m. and end up sitting on a swing and just chilling, and then walk back home at like 3, 4. You're like, yeah, you have class the next day at like lunchtime, so you're fine. But it was so nice because you just wanted to be together, and it just showed me the value of community even more. Yeah, you know. So,
and I find that, like, when you're describing that, I'm thinking about all those little things I remember about Vancouver, like all those little spots you liked to go and just sit, and
Right.
especially those moments you're saying, like being in the struggle, there was those places that kind of comforted you and stuff. Because
Absolutely.
I feel as though people see diasporans abroad, they watch their Instagrams and it looks glamorous
Right.
and all that
It's not.
stuff. Yeah, and they fail to realize just how real it can get, and they don't get to see. So on this podcast, I like asking people about that journey a lot, because there's a side of it that I don't think gets communicated enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, about
Yeah.
just that, I guess, the dark side. But, you know, like with the darkness comes like getting to know yourself
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And I find so much value in that side of it, more so than all the stuff people want to show on Instagram. But
Right.
you grow so much from those experiences. And
Absolutely.
that means way more than any rooftop view you might have
Listen.
posted, you know.
Listen. And I think also people, like, maybe they don't want to show that part because it's like, I don't want you to change your mind, because it's there, but I might not show it to you just because I'm like, I want to be on this end of things, you know. But I think if people took a bit of time to actually show people some degree of their real life, I think we'd all be a bit more compassionate, you know.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, hey, you know, maybe it'd be like, yo, are you okay? Do you
Yeah.
need help?
Yeah.
Can we send something with someone, you know? Yeah. Because even like when I'd come home, it's funny, even like it would be the reverse. Like I'd talk so much about home, everyone's like, we gotta come there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then Kenyans are like, yeah, go back, don't come.
Yeah.
So now, like looking back, like there are many friends of mine over the years who have come. I have a friend who we almost think she's Kenyan now.
Yeah.
Because was she here for her fourth time or third time since I've been to Berklee, and you'd honestly think she's another part of my family. She's Korean, by the way.
Oh, wow.
And then like we've started now, it's our community from then has branched out to more things. Like we've flown to people's weddings. Like it's becoming so much more like for real, like a heart connection, in the sense of like we've seen each other through like the formative stage, and now we're making life-changing decisions, you know. Like I know my friends' husbands or things like that, you know. So yeah, I appreciate what it made, I guess, formed in me. That's what I'd say.
Yeah. So 3 years in Berklee/Boston, and then where did you go from there?
Wow. And then I abruptly moved to Los Angeles, which was
LA.
right. I might as well sing the area code. But yeah, it was wow. I felt like I was living in a dream, in the sense of like, you know, that place when people talk about it, and then I like, wow, I'm here. Am I actually here? And I lived in a Hispanic neighborhood, predominantly Hispanic neighborhood, in a place called Van Nuys. So not spelled N-I-S-E, it's spelled N-U-I-S.
Oh, okay.
Right, your brain is like, nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Nuys.
Nuys. Yeah, and I lived there, and like I told you before, I love nature. So it almost felt like I was like, oh, look, it's hills. Oh, wait, and there's forest. Oh, my word, is that a beach? I loved being there. I think more so for that reason. If I didn't have to work like the hustle, I loved it. And
Yeah. What
the
was your
people-
hustle while you were
Good
there?
and good. My hustle was like my hustle is like just the hustle and bustle of like trying to make it as a
Yeah.
musician or creative, because there's so many people just like you. Like so many people. I don't think I've ever been to a town where there are more musicians / actors / like, you know, people say triple threat, etc. It's a real thing, and there are many of them. Leave alone New York. Like, I was like, you guys, I don't even know you if you're not trying to be singing, and you're like, okay, why don't I wait out with acting? There's like so many people, and I'd be like, hey, this is another level, yeah. Like some of you guys have, leave alone people with agents, there are people who are not even discovered, and I'm like, yo,
The
how are you not
standard is so
known?
high. Yeah.
Like even just going to Berklee, I already had the complex of like, these guys have been doing music for years before I even got here. How am I supposed to fit in? And then I was like, okay, I found my space, and I'm like, I believe in working hard and excellence. But now, LA was like on steroids because you show up and you're a newbie, and so much of the entertainment industry is about connection. Who you know, who can, what studio you're in, how much you push, you know, like guys even get on shows not to necessarily win, just so they have a larger audience of people to hear them. Because like a friend of mine was talking about a conversation they had with, I think was it Kenny Latimer's, one of the guys who brought him in when he was in Kenya, I think last year or the year before. And he said these days more labels are looking more for the people who already have people listening to them, not from we're going to build a career with you. And that's hard because it's like, yo man. So it makes me wonder, hey, like how many people, if I'm in a college, I'm in one college in Boston, and we're maybe, let's say, 800 plus graduate. America is so big. And there are so many colleges, so many good colleges that are releasing people like me and even more profound into this world at the same time. What in the world? So it made me feel great because I was surrounded by some really great people who like, shout out to Jennifer Chris, because like, yeah, she helped so much. Like people who would be like, okay, I sing with these people, can you come and work with us? Or just willing to offer, take a chance on people. Yeah. Michael Cote, my friend Christine, like so many people, Michelle, like who even for them, they're doing amazing things right now, you know, but they're willing to take a chance on people. Because again, like I mentioned before, character is an important thing. Character and your preparedness of how you're willing to work. And I think even more than the hustle, that should be what keeps you somewhere. So you realize like, yo, that idea for it being cutthroat, it's real. Very real. It's very real. And people think it's like that in business. You've not been to auditions where you see hundreds, thousands of people lining up, like even just for the voice. Man, like lines that go down streets. And you're like, you all just want one shot. Yep. And I realized maybe it's just me, but maybe I'm not built for the hustle like that. I always thought of myself like, I don't know, like when in the train of thought when I was younger, when I wanted to be so many different things, I thought like I wanted to be a doctor. Then I was like, ooh, blood. And then I love animals. So I was like, okay, maybe we can do this whole zoologist thing. And I still do. I can't wait to have a puppy. I'm on the way. So yeah, and then we worked our way into music and psych. After taking a route through, maybe I was like sociology. Then they said, yep, just do research. I said, oh, you guys are just spoiling my plans. But yeah, so looking at that, and I was like, I never felt like I wanted to be in the limelight. You know, I just wanted to live a life where I can help people and make money, I guess, from it. But yeah, just the stuff that helps people learn more about themselves and even just about the world we live in. So it was interesting because when you see those changes, your life around you starts to reflect it. Whether it's like, yeah, job might be okay, and then all of a sudden it stops. It's not okay anymore. Yeah, and then, or like, you're looking for somewhere to live, you just can't find anywhere. And you find somewhere, then it's bought out. You find another place, a couple comes and buy, two people, like that's what would happen. And I was like, okay, what in the world? And so I was just like, maybe it's time to go home. And for many people, it seemed like career suicide, even though sometimes people might not understand your path, you know, just because they're not working with you. But at the end of the day, it's like, what I need now might not be what you need. And at that time, I think I needed to come home. The thing about being in college abroad is like, it's fast. Yeah. Everything just happens. So you'll be 1 minute, you're like, I'm starting like that. Yeah. And then you're like, wait, I have a whole degree. Great. What am I doing? You know, and you just follow. But then it's like, wait, what am I actually doing? And I think with all that had happened, with just the amount, growing up is work. Today morning, I was like, guys, I might need a back rub for this adulting thing because no one told me I'd begin to feel old at 20-something. Yeah. I said, shoot. And that's how it feel coming out of college. And I was like, I just need time off for my brain to actually figure out myself outside of the context of school. And at the same time, it just felt so peaceful to decide to go home. And weirdly enough, I found at that time when I had nothing going on, was the time that I made so much music. Just because there was enough quiet in my head, I guess. Not because I'm like, what do I need to do next? What do I do? Where am I? You know? There's enough quiet for me to be able to articulate what I needed to say. And I guess what was on my heart's mind, if I could say. So, yeah. And a lot of the songs that came out, funny enough, a lot of the songs that came out last year for me were not necessarily songs I'd written last year, apart from like one. Most of them were written like 2 to 3 years in the experience of college. But I'm learning that, at least for me as a musician, you have to let your songs go so that there's space to tell a new story. And I think that's generally even just with life. You need to create space and room in this thing that's in your chest so that you can live a bit more and tell that story so that you have more room to tell more of the story later. Because I think I could have just taken college and just kept going. And it's like I'm running a race that it's just me. It's like dumb. And it's like, why am I running? Why are you running?
Yeah, why are you running?
Yeah. So I think LA was like, it's a picture of when I'm at a certain point in my career, I would love to be in that space in terms of like, just helping people get where they're going in this music world. Not be as rough, but I mean, like, be like, are you on your stuff? Do you work hard? Are you a person of reputable character? Who can vouch for you? And help them get where they're going. Not necessarily be the one who's like, okay, everyone, just listen to me, you know? Not that that's a bad thing. I think that people built for that, and that's great. But yeah, I don't think I would have done as well where I was in the space that I was in had I stayed. And I think it's better to choose then to back off rather than keep going and crash.
And crash later, yeah. How much time did you spend in LA?
So I moved there in August 2018. And then I stayed there till December, took a short, long holiday and came home. Because I'd never been home for longer than like 2-3 weeks. And that is depressing. Like, you're meeting people 1, 2, 3, you're on a plane. And you're like, guys, have I even been home? And then I went back in February in 2019. Yeah. And then I stayed there until... I was still in the States until end of May. What happened was I moved out of LA at the start of April, and then I lived in Texas. Shout out to Dallas! I lived in Texas until May 4th, which is coming up on a year now.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, I mean, that it's always so interesting to hear that diaspora journey, like, and everyone's is so different. And I like how, I mean, you just seem so self-aware of the whole process too, which is really awesome.
Thank you.
And like something that I can relate to 1,000% because of just my own experience in my own way. And I think a part of it that not many people even amongst diasporans, I don't think we really have these conversations about what we're going through at the time and what it feels like to be in that rat race and like feel like you're lost and all these things.
And I think it's because people think that you have to perpetuate that dream of like, I'm living the American dream or Canadian dream, you know, like just, I'm doing it. I might be suffering, but I'm doing it. But I'm like, have you talked to anyone else who might not feel like it? Even when you don't feel like it, because for certain there's a point you won't feel like it. And you'll be like, I'm here and it's great, but I just want to be at home. I want to be drinking tea, making a cup of tea and having dows and not thinking about what assignment I have to do right now or how I'm going to fit into the larger context of what this place is, you know? And sometimes you figure that out later or you're just like, okay, I'm going to let that go and just continue, you know? So, but it's so important because like even last year, Noni and I were having a conversation when she was in that situation and it was so interesting because sometimes you don't think it would be that person who ends up being the one who's there for you, you know? But based on a connection we had years before, me just reaching out and she was like, yo, man, it's wild that you're here, but I'm so thankful that you are. And even if it might not be the same again in any other context, I'm just glad that you're here right now, you know? And that's the thing, because like life is moving so fast in the context of being in those schools or even just working. Like, it's like, is anyone checking in on you? Even if they might be in the same context or not. Is anyone, even more if they are, like, do you check on the people? We used to have like dinners in our house in Boston sometimes and invite guys over and just sit and talk and dance randomly and eat food.
Yeah.
And what would happen is, one of my friends, now my housemate who's Korean, she started to like chapos. And so we'd plan, okay, are we making chapos this day or whatever? Are we making stew, you know? So it would be like, wow, what? And then there was once we made, one of my friends had a roommate who was, I think, Danish or something. So he made pancakes, a certain type of pancakes or crepes or something. And then someone made chicken wings and something. And I was like, this is so cool. We're all making food from somewhere, but we're very happy just to be together and eat. I think there's something to be said over fellowship over food.
100%.
Yeah. So, yeah. And creating that and also just checking on each other like that. Like, all the Kenyans in Berklee, we would all automatically want to talk Swahili. Immediately saying,
Yeah.
okay, it's like, guy, you wanna, you know, even in the lobby, and guys are like, what are y'all saying? And we're like, oh no, we're just maybe we're not talking about that, but you know. So just that comfort of feeling like, ooh, I'm not so alone here, you know, because people don't know how lonely it can actually get.
Man, yeah. I mean, and so what was the experience of finally coming back home? Because I think so another part of this whole diaspora thing is you miss home so much and all that, and then you actually do come home, and then you have to deal with the realities of being home. So what is that like?
It's interesting. So I've never actually like lost my voice until last year when I came home. And I came home and I was like, yeah, we're good. And nope, my voice disappeared. And I was like, okay, this is wild. What's happening? I think through last year, I learned that your body will reflect what you're going through 100 times over, whether you know it immediately or when it's at the point where it's like, yo, you need to go into a hospital. And I think I'd been processing a lot. Like, it would happen randomly. When we were driving to Texas, we took a road trip when I moved out of LA. And I was reading this book that was helping me process like emotional unavailability. And I'd read, and I start processing, then I'd black out. And it's not because I sleep on cars. I love like long distance drives. I would sleep so much. I was like, Connie, have I not been getting sleep? And even when I got to Texas, I wasn't as busy. So I'd like stretch. I used this Nike Training Club app. And they have like stretches, yeah.
Okay.
Some are like basic, like warm down things. So I do them before I sleep. And I'd sleep for 10 plus hours. And I was like, what is happening to me? But I think my body was just processing the change. And even when I got home and I lost my voice, I literally was being told, sit down, take a break, and just be here. Don't start doing immediately you reached.
Yeah.
So for like 2 months, nothing. Like even gigs that would try to come, they would fall apart. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. Maybe I'm just being told to sit still.
That's so interesting.
Right?
Because like I've seen it in myself and I've seen it in other people where you come home and it's like, okay, need to start like moving and shaking.
No.
Yeah,
your life just says, no, sit down,
yeah.
shut up, you know? And it's good because I think it's always good. You need to take stock, not just of where you are, but of what has happened.
Yeah, where you've been.
Listen. And I'm like, you can just keep moving, but then you don't realize it's like you have gunias on your back for those who don't understand German. Like baggage on your back, and you don't realize you've had it, even if it's just from life, the way it has happened. And not just taking time to process, because like I said earlier, you can't escape it. Whether you avoid it now, it will meet you somewhere, it'll tag along, or it's a crutch, you know? Yeah. So you just need time to process. And it was good because when I eventually started doing stuff, I was like, okay, I feel much better now. Like, I feel like, let's go, you know? Yeah. And I think those 2 months of like silence were really good, because it's funny because I had to give an Engage Talk. Shout out to Don and
Oh,
Agatha.
cool. Oh, you have one? Is it online?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, crazy.
I don't talk
What?
about it much because I freak out.
What? I've watched them and I hear you're talking about Engage Talks and you have one. I'm definitely going to check that out.
No, you know my secrets. I'm
Yeah.
joking. Yeah. No, go ahead.
Yeah.
But I had to give an Engage Talk. And when you have enough silence around you to think and hear, it allowed me to process like stuff I hadn't processed for 10 years. And that's wild to me because it's like, what was I doing? Trying to grow up. But also just, it allowed me to tell my story, even if people don't understand, but tell it in a way that also allowed me to heal as I told it. Which I think is like super important, which is why I'm just like, I'd rather have lost my voice and not sung anything before I opened my mouth to say stuff that would have damaged everyone involved, and including me, and made it like a history of blame, you know? Because like with the talk, I ended up writing a song called Enough.
Blame is a name game. Truth is I'm at the end of my rope with it. Carrying my heart, the blood stains on my shirt from all the holes I've been bleeding through. But today I will let go of the aching. Today I let go of what I heard you say. Today I hope I feel like me again. Today. I will be enough for me.
And the song says, the first two lines say, blame is a name game. The truth is I'm at the end of my rope with it. Because I think with anything you go through in life, you're always looking for somewhere to pinpoint it or tag it to something, you know. But I was just like, yo, man, I'm tired of looking for a reason to say it was this or this and that and this. I'm like, here I am, and all I want from this is to know that I am enough. And that's what the chorus says. Today I let go of, one of the lines says, I let go of the things I hear you say or I heard you say. And then I say, today I hope I'll feel like me today. Today I will be enough for me. Because I was like, it's funny when you lose your voice as a musician. You're like, ooh, wait, see, I sing. Oh my God, how am I going to make money? Oh my God, how am I going to... Or you break your arm as a guitarist or whatever. You immediately like, man, I'm about to suffer. It's wild. Instead of being like, maybe my body's trying to tell me something. Maybe I'm not okay. Maybe I need to actually just sit still and not do anything for a hot second before I think about what I'm going to say next.
If you'd like to get in touch with the Represented Podcast, feel free to hit up at Represented Podcast on Instagram or email us at representedpodcast@gmail.com. This show is hosted and created by myself, Kanyeki Kamawe. Editing by Lucid and myself. Video directed by James Kamawe. Video editing by myself, Kanyeki Kamawe. Intro music by Lucid and Mari Narciso.